Black Laws, the 9th edition. Person, a human being. Dash. Now watch. Also termed, so a human being can be termed natural person. Black Laws, 9th edition. Artificial person. This is an entity, such as a corporation. Now watch, it doesn't say only a corporation. Listen to this description. An artificial person is an entity, okay, such as a corporation, created by law and given certain legal rights and duties of a human being. This is a being, real or imaginary, who for the purpose of legal reasoning is treated more or less as a human being. So very clearly we can see that an artificial person is not a human being. An artificial person is an entity, and it's created by law and is given certain rights and duties of a human being. Black Laws, 9th edition. The word term. A word or phrase. An expression that has a fixed meaning in some field. We're looking into Black Laws, the 9th edition. We find the word human being. So we look at that definition of this word, and it says that a human being can also be termed, and they use that expression, termed a natural person. So a human being can be recognized as a natural person. So some have decided and have gone out there and taught that a natural person is one and the same as a human being. And they say, well, when you refer to yourself as a natural person, then you're referring to yourself as a human being. That's not the case. First, it says that a human being is termed. So it's given the terminology of natural person. It doesn't say that a human being is a natural person. If the article of law, or if this dictionary was written in this way, a human being is a natural person, then the case is over. Then you could go before the court and say this natural person here is supposed to be recognized fully as a human being. But they didn't use that word, they used the word termed instead. Look at it as designated. And termed means it has a fixed meaning in some field. So now, we know that we're talking about the field of law, whether common law or statutory law. That's the field that we are in. So this word, natural person, it has a fixed meaning in the field of law. Now what we have to do is find out what this fixed meaning is. Does it actually mean human being, like some propose, or does it mean something else? That this natural person has some attributes, some characteristics of the human being, but is not recognized fully as a human being. It has a fixed meaning, a fixed designation within the law. So back to that term now of natural person, that terminology, that designation. We know that it has a fixed meaning in the field of law. When we look at the word legal person, this strictly means a corporation, right? It strictly means a corporation. And you can also designate it an artificial person. Did you catch what I just said? I said that a legal person strictly means a corporation. But is that really the definition that we find in law? Let's see. So as we saw, Black Laws, 9th edition, it said that a legal person is an entity, only a corporation. Nope, that's not what it says. It says an entity such as a corporation. So such as. And this entity has been created by law, right? And given certain rights and duties of a human being. And this entity, this legal person, such as a corporation, but not only a corporation, can be real or imaginary. Some people read this in Black Laws, edition 1 to 9, and they believe that when they read legal person, that they're describing an entity that is only a corporation. Only a corporation. However, that's not what it's saying. It's saying that it is an entity such as a corporation, and the point being here is a corporation is what? Created by law, right? A corporation isn't born into existence like a human being is born into existence. A corporation is created by law. You go, you get your business license, you do a letters of patent into incorporating this new business, and now you've been created by law and you've come into existence. That's what a corporation is. But the key point again is that this entity, this legal person, is created by law, and given certain rights and duties of a human being. Black Laws, the 9th edition. The word incorporate. To form a legal corporation. She incorporated the family business. Now look at Article 2. To combine with something else. Incorporate the exhibits into the agreement. But the action is to combine with something else. The Province of Quebec, the Police Act. The Police Act in Quebec, Articles 7 and 8. A police training school is hereby established under the name École Nationale de Police de Québec. The school is a legal person, and a mandatory of the government. This is an enactment, a federal enactment. It's designated or termed Canada Foundation for Sustainable Development Technology Act. The foundation is not an agent of Her Majesty. Continuation 3 subsection 1. The corporation is continued as a corporation without share capital. So this is a corporation. Canada Corporations Act. This is a federal enactment that's been given force of law, and it's titled Canada Corporations Act. Now this is really important. Canada's Corporations Act, Article 12. A company comes into existence on the date of the letters patent incorporating it. Incorporation of municipalities. Article 7, subsection 1. On the recommendation of the minister under subsection 2, the lieutenant governor in council may, now watch, by letters patent, you see that? Letters patent, incorporate the residents of an area into a new municipality. The Criminal Code of Canada, Interpretation Section, Municipality. This is the definition of a municipality within the Criminal Code of Canada. Municipality includes the corporation of a city, town, village, county, township, parish, or other territorial or local division of a province. Now watch. The inhabitants of which are incorporated. So the inhabitants of the municipalities are incorporated. So that legal person, it was created by law. And a legal person created by law can be a corporation. Can be a corporation. McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Chicken, as you saw, they called the Police de Quebec. It can be a corporation. Now, in the Canadian Corporations Act, as you saw, a corporation, this legal person, is created through letters patent. Through letters patent. That's how it's created. Now, when we look at the Local Government Act, we see that a municipality, wherever we are live and we are born, by letters patent, there it is again, can incorporate the residents of an area. So some have seen this word incorporate, the residents of an area, and understood that they've been created to stand as a legal person. But they made a jump and said, I'm being recognized as a corporation under law. And that's not what a legal person is. Remember, a legal person is something, an entity, real or imaginary, okay, that was created by law. Here we're seeing it, was created by law, but is given certain rights and duties of a human being. So, certain rights and duties of a human being. Now, for example, when you have a corporation, the corporation can never go to court and say, for example, I was discriminated against because I'm an Asian man, or I was discriminated against because I'm a South African man and I wasn't able to get this job. A corporation could never claim that right as a legal person. However, we, the legal person that they've tried to make us in law through that letters patent, the incorporated resident, we could go to court as that legal person. We would have that attribute to say, well, I've been discriminated against because I'm an Asian man or because I'm a South African man. So there's a difference in the type of legal person that's being created. Again, there are those who are saying the legal person has rendered you to be a corporation in law, that's now your designation. A corporation. That's not the fact. A legal person can be a corporation and is indeed a corporation. However, a legal person is also, if you will, something that's created by law, that's real or imaginary, and has certain attributes of the human being. And the legal person that they've made you, that you're standing under right now or with right now, it has attributes that a corporation doesn't have. However, this legal person is still not a human being, and it still doesn't have the capacities of a natural person. But I just want you to understand the difference there. When we look into black laws, it says it's to combine with something else. So the municipality, when you're born, for example, your birth certificate goes to your local municipality, and then this legal person, through your live act of birth, is created through a letters patent. Now, yes, you've been rendered and you have been created, or there's been a designation that's been created on your behalf as that legal person. But that legal person is not one and the same as a corporation. It has different attributes, different characteristics attached to it. Some of those characteristics are the characteristics of a human being. Such as, for example, a human being, a man or a woman who was discriminated against, would have the right to go before a court and say, I've been discriminated against. So this legal person also has the right to go to court and say that it's been discriminated against. I'm using my social insurance number, I'm going to apply for a job. Exactly, I'm that legal person, that artificial entity that's been created. In the process of me applying for the job, the boss discriminates against me. Now when I go to court, it's me, through my legal person, that will operate under that attribute of saying you've discriminated against me. So it's very clear that the legal person that's created through a letters patent, but that's been created, is not a company. It is an artificial being, which we don't have to take recognition as, which we don't want to stand under, but it is an artificial being that's been given certain rights and freedoms of the human being, and it stands in a different capacity. This legal person now stands in a different capacity than a complete corporation. Because as you saw, this corporation doesn't have the rights to go and say I've been discriminated against because I'm an Asian corporation or a South African corporation. It doesn't have that attribute to express. Black Laws, the 9th edition. Personality. The legal status of one, regarded by the law as a person. The legal conception by which the law regards a human being or an artificial entity as a person, also termed legal personality. We're looking at the word legal person. Excuse me. And we know that a legal person now is an entity, not just a corporation, but it is an entity, real or imaginary, that's been created by law and given certain legal rights and duties of a human being. Certain legal rights and duties of a human being. And we know that a natural person has a fixed meaning within the field of law. Now we look at the word personality, or a legal personality. It's legal status of one. Okay, so here we have a legal personality, which can be a natural person or a legal person. And this legal personality has legal status of one, regarded by law as a person. So legal status. Well, we know the legal person has certain rights and duties of the human being, and the natural person has been termed a human being. So therefore it must also have certain rights and duties of a human being. Now, it says a personality, a legal personality, is the legal conception. Now, some might refer to this and catch this word as conception as meaning thought, because a conception in Old English can mean thought or thinking. However, when you understand that these beings, legal person and natural person, are what? They're created. Created. When we read the terminology, it says an artificial being is an entity such as a corporation created by law. So here, when they're talking about the legal personality, and they use the word legal conception, they're not talking about a thought. They're talking about the actual conception, the actual creation of the legal personality that has legal status. Now, how does that happen? We just saw, for the legal person, it's through those letters of patent. So that personality is given legal status through the letters patent, and it is created by law. Okay, now by which the law regards a human being or an artificial entity as a person. So you see, it's clearly stating here that the legal conception or the creation, meaning natural person or legal person, is the medium, the mechanism by which the law, the society, those people, regards a human being or an artificial entity as a person. So here it says that they regard a human being as a person. How? Through natural person. And then we go back to the definition of natural person, and it says a human being can be termed natural person. Now, question still remains to everybody watching this video. We're saying that there's a fixed meaning to this word natural person, and it's contained within the field of law. So what exactly is this natural person? And if we can prove that this natural person is exercising or has attributes of an artificial person, then we know for sure that this natural person is not one and the same as the human being. Because the human being cannot exercise attributes or characteristics of a corporation by its own. It can be incorporated or can be made into a legal person through those letters of patent, and then be given certain rights and duties of the human being. In that way, yes, it can be made an artificial person. The New Brunswick Electricity Act. This was deposited in June 21st, 2013, but was only recently given force of law. I think it was in December of 2013. The New Brunswick Power Corporation. Division A, Amalgamation. Subsection 3. The corporation is a crown corporation and is, for all purposes, an agent of the crown. Subsection 4. Subject to this act, the corporation has the capacity, rights, powers, and privileges of a natural person. Natural person. So we're looking into the Electricity Act here in New Brunswick, and we find that this company is now titled New Brunswick Power Corporation. All capital letters, by the way. Look at that. Okay, and it says within the act itself that this is an agent, this corporation is an agent of the crown. So if I would think of an agent of the crown, I would think of someone, for example, like a police officer who's working under the Criminal Code of Canada. They're working as an agent for the crown. I can give you many other examples, but you understand, I would think of something as being a living being who's an agent of the crown. Yet, however, this corporation, New Brunswick Power Corporation, is considered or been given the attributes somewhat of a human being, because it's now being considered an agent of the crown. And it goes on to further describe that it has the rights, capacity, and powers and privileges of a natural person. A natural person. So we know that a natural person has the attribute to be alive, right? Because a human being, one of the attributes that it has is that we are alive and living, and we don't have to play any roles or play anything else that's external to our nature. But getting back to this, we know that a human being has an attribute of being alive. and being recognized as being alive, and can be an agent, can be a living being, not just an entity alone. So the natural person is alive, and through that attribute, the agent becomes alive for New Brunswick Power Corporation. So it becomes an agent of the Crown, and then it's given or has the rights, capacity, and powers and privileges of a natural person, which was termed a human being. Now we know that this corporation here alone is a legal person, right? Now watch, and what's the definition of a legal person? It's an entity that's created here, again, created by law, and given certain legal rights and duties of a human being. Okay, so we know this corporation is a legal person, given certain rights and duties, but they're changing it here. They're saying that this corporation here has the rights, capacity, powers, and privileges of a natural person. Natural person. And we're seeing one of them saying that it can stand as an agent. So it alone, the whole corporation, can be an agent. But this is still an entity in law. This is still a designation in law. All these terms and all these terms that they're using is a designation. When we're born into this world, whether you call yourself a man or a woman, or the plural of that being human beings, that's our recognition. That's what we are designated. That's what we are titled. That's what we come out as. All these things such as agent, legal person, natural persons, mayors, doctors, police officers, these are all terms, designations that have been given to that artificial person, that legal person. However, now we're seeing in the Electricity Act that a corporation can have the capacity and powers and privileges of a natural person. So can we now say that a corporation can have the rights, capacity, powers, and privileges of a human being? Can we say now that this corporation is breathing, for example, like I'm breathing right now? Can we say now that this corporation needs to blink, like I blink periodically to keep my eyes clean? Can we say this corporation needs to eat food in order to survive and sustain its life, like I need to eat food as a human being? Obviously the answers are no, but we can keep going on. Can we say that this corporation needs to have a shelter to protect itself from the elements? Like if I don't have a house to live in, and I don't have heat to shelter myself from the elements outside, especially here in Canada during winter, I will die. I can freeze and die. And this is an attribute that a human being has. So there's a whole bunch of attributes that a human being has that cannot be placed into that corporation, even though it can be claiming the fact that it's operating with the capacity and rights of a natural person. So that alone should tell us then that whatever this natural person, whenever the human being has been termed natural person, whatever this natural person is, remember, it's been created by law, it's applicable in the field of law only. Whatever this natural person is, it's still lacking the attributes of the human being. And the fact that it can be passed upon, or placed upon, or designated as a corporation shows us, seals the deal, if you will say it in that way. Because no human being can ever play this role. Because again, as I said, we just went through a list of attributes that that human being has that can never be transferred to a corporation. So this natural person, while it has more rights and freedoms that has been given to it in law than a legal person, it's still not one and the same as a man or a woman, a human being. That man and woman, human being, has many more rights and freedoms that they can stand under. Their common law rights that are recognized and that Canada is held accountable to. And they know, if you look in the Interpretation Act, Article 8, it clearly states that common law and statutory law are both, if you will say, recognized and equal here in Canada, and you have every right to stand under common law. But they never taught us what common law was, so most of us don't understand. Nevertheless, the whole point of this was to say that this natural person here will never have the attributes of a man or a woman, a human being. It will express certain attributes more than a corporation or that legal person, but not the same as a human being. Now remember, that legal person, as we've been talking about tonight, does not only mean a corporation. It just means an entity. So they create you, or they create that legal person that has your name attached to it through those letters patent, And you're just a legal person in law, created by law, an entity. But you as an entity are not a corporation. You're not a corporation like a McDonald's or a Kentucky Fried Chicken, again. Because remember, this entity that's been created by law through the letters patent, example can go and say I've been discriminated against. So it's been given those certain rights and duties of a human being. Just like in law, the natural person has been given those certain rights and duties of a human being more than the legal person, but still not the human being. Because it cannot express our attributes, because they're of our nature, and they can never be reproduced. And we'll leave it at that. This is from the Justice Canada website, and it's speaking about everyone. Now there are some that say and declare and that are making videos that law does not recognize the human being. Now let's see what this says here. Read as a whole, it appears that Section 7, and they're talking about the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, the Constitution Act of Canada 1982, that Section 7 was intended to confer protection on a singularly human level. A plain, common sense reading of the phrase, everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of the person, serves to underline the human element involved. Only human beings can enjoy these rights. Everyone, then, must be read in the light of the rest of the section and defined to exclude corporations and other artificial entities incapable of enjoying life, liberty, or security of the person, and include only human beings. So we're looking at that Justice Canada declaration that they've made, and we see that they're talking about Section 7 of the Constitution Act of Canada 1982, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. And it specifically, they state specifically that this only applies for human beings. Now the first thing to notice is that they didn't say this only applies for natural persons, right? They actually use the designation of human beings. And then he goes on to state that everyone then must exclude corporations. Now we've learned, remember, a corporation is a legal person or a natural person, can have the capacity of a natural person. So everyone then must exclude corporations and, now watch, other artificial entities. So we go back again. If legal person, right, person, legal person, would only mean that now you've been rendered a corporation, then why would they put this here, and other artificial entities? But as you saw tonight, the legal person that they've created you is not one and the same as a corporation. It is an artificial entity, and it cannot, according to this, enjoy these expressions of law in Section 7. No corporation or any other artificial entity created by law, letters of patent, natural, legal persons, can ever enjoy these attributes, incapable of enjoying life. But you see, the justice system, those who sit higher up, they know what's going on. They're completely aware of what's going on. Otherwise, why would this guy state in this declaration from Justice Canada what everyone means, that it says, okay, these attributes here, everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of the person, they only apply to human beings. Again, they don't use the terminology natural person, they specifically say human beings. And then they say these attributes that we are listing, life, liberty, and security of the person, they can never be given, they can never be transferred over to a corporation. So we know corporation, legal person, but then they go corporation and other artificial entities. Publisher, Justice Canada, Canley, Graham Grayton, the Canadian Charter of Rights Decision Digest, updated 2005, April.